I escaped Damon's abuse and uncovered his criminal prank schemes with Jace. After a dangerous confrontation and their arrest, I rebuilt myself through therapy and Ethan's gentle support, finding confidence, safety, and freedom again. I finally understood my worth. My past ended with them, my real life began with me. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe. Get ready for real emotional and thrilling stories from Black adults that will keep you hooked till the end. I always thought 6 years was enough time to understand a person, to predict their moods, their patterns, their truths. But with Damon, I was always guessing, always hoping he would finally become the man I believed he could be. My name is Ariana Brooks, and for 6 long years, Damon Carter was the center of my world. From the beginning, I supported him in every possible way, emotionally, mentally, and most of all, financially. Damon called himself an online marketing strategist and a YouTube creator, but in reality, his income came in unpredictable waves. Whenever his channels underperformed or his clients disappeared, the responsibilities landed on my shoulders. Rent, groceries, car payments, I quietly covered them all. Not because I had to, but because I loved him. Because I believed he was just going through a rough phase. Because I wanted to see him win, but deep down I knew our relationship was one-sided. Still, I kept feeding myself excuses. He's stressed. He's trying. He loves me, just differently. On the morning of my birthday, Damon surprised me by waking me up with a smile, a real one, the kind I hadn't seen in months. He told me he booked a full spa treatment for me. "You deserve to relax today," he said softly, brushing hair away from my face like he used to. For a moment I felt warmth spread through me. Maybe this was a turning point. Maybe he was finally remembering who we were. The spa was beautiful, soft. Music, warm lighting, calming scents. Yet, as I lay under the warm towels, my body strangely refused to relax. A knot tightened in my stomach, one that grew heavier with every passing minute. It felt like my heart was whispering a warning I couldn't understand. Something felt off, but I shut the thought down. "Ariana, stop overthinking. Maybe he's planning something special." And the idea hit me, maybe a proposal. For years, I had wanted Damon to commit. I dropped hints gently, subtly. When friends got engaged, I'd joke about how our turn was definitely coming soon. He would always laugh it off or change the subject, but today felt different. When the spa session ended, I checked my phone. Damon had texted, "Be ready by 7. Rooftop dinner, dress beautifully." 3 heart emojis. Something he rarely used. My own heart fluttered. I went home, showered, and slipped into a long emerald dress Damon once said was his favorite. I curled my hair and did my makeup slowly, almost reverently. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from hope. Could this be the day my life changed? The rooftop restaurant overlooked the entire Atlanta skyline. City lights shimmered like scattered diamonds, casting reflections on the glass railings. Soft jazz music blended with the hum of the evening breeze. Everything felt cinematic. Unreal. Damon was unusually cheerful. He hugged me tight, pulled out my chair for me, complimented my dress, things he hadn't done in so long. Even our friends were there, which was odd because Damon barely enjoyed group events. But tonight, everyone smiled at me like they knew. Something I didn't. My heartbeat quickened. As we ordered drinks, I found myself drifting into memories. Our first meeting at a mutual friend's party, how Damon walked in with confidence, how he made the whole room laugh. How I felt drawn to him instantly. How I ignored every red flag because I believed in his potential. How I convinced myself that love meant patience, even when the waiting felt endless. 6 years. And I was still waiting. The wind brushed against my shoulders as I looked across the glowing skyline. Maybe this was the moment God had finally written for me. Maybe this was why I held on so long. I turned to Damon, and for a second, I saw the man I fell for, the charming smile, the sparkle in his eyes, the warmth of familiarity. He stood up from his chair, cleared his throat, and tapped a glass gently. Everyone fell silent. My breath stopped. Damon turned toward me slowly, and before I could speak, before I could gather a single thought, he got down on one knee. Everything around me blurred, the lights, the faces, even the music. All I saw was Damon holding a small velvet ring box in his hand. My chest tightened. Tears filled my eyes instantly. This was it. This was the moment I dreamed of. My voice cracked as I whispered, "Is this finally happening?" The world felt still. Hope flooded through me like a rising tide. And I had no idea that this was the moment my life was about to shatter. Damon was still on one knee, the ring box open in his hand, and for the first time in years, I saw my future clearly. I saw a home, a family, a life where all the waiting finally made sense. Tears blurred my vision as I covered my mouth. Yes, I whispered, my voice shaking. Yes, Damon, of course, yes. The rooftop erupted with cheers. Our friends clapped. A couple at the next table gasped with excitement, and someone even shouted, "Congratulations." It felt like one of those magical movie moments, unreal, dreamlike, something I would remember forever. But the truth is, I would remember it forever, just not for the reasons I imagined. Before I could reach out to hug him, before I could even breathe in relief, Damon's shoulders began to shake. At first, I thought he was crying. I thought he was overwhelmed. I thought this moment meant as much to him as it meant to me, but then I saw it. He wasn't crying, he was laughing. A slow chuckle at first, then louder, then uncontrollably. He laughed so hard he had to wipe tears from his eyes, tears of amusement, not emotion. I froze. My body turned ice cold. What? What's funny? I whispered, my voice barely audible. Before he could answer, I noticed Jace, his best friend, standing from the table, holding his phone up, recording me like this was some entertainment show. He zoomed in on my tear-streaked face, my trembling hands, my dress, everything. Damon finally stood up and brushed off his knees dramatically. Oh my God, relax, Ariana. You should have seen your face, he laughed loudly. It's a prank. For my YouTube channel. A prank. My mind couldn't process it. A proposal, the crowd is sharing, my heart is opening. All of it a joke? The entire restaurant went silent. Even the music seemed to fade into the background. People who once clapped now stared in disbelief. Some whispered, others simply looked away in discomfort. I stood there like a statue. My throat tightened painfully. My chest ached as if someone was pressing down on it with all their weight. My hands began to shake uncontrollably. Damon, what are you talking about? I finally asked, though every word scraped my throat raw. He shrugged casually still. Laughing. Come on, babe. It's content. My audience is gonna love this. I mean, your reaction? Priceless. I felt humiliation flood over me like drowning waves. Jace tilted his phone, still recording. Man, she legit cried, he snickered. The sting behind my eyes turned into a burn. I swallowed, trying to steady myself, but my footing felt unstable like. The ground was tilting beneath me. I whispered again, voice fading. This was just a prank? Damon smirked. Ariana, lighten up. You know I'm not ready for marriage. Why would you think this was real? And that sentence, those careless, cruel words stabbed deeper than anything he had ever said. My breath hitched. My vision dimmed. I did the only thing I could. I walked away. Not fast, not dramatic, just broken. Each step felt heavy, like my heart was dragging behind me on the concrete floor. I heard someone call my name, maybe Maya, maybe the waiter. Everything blended into distant echoes. I pushed open the rooftop doors and stepped into the cool night air. The chill hit my skin, and that was when the tears finally spilled. My makeup blurred, my chest rose and fell sharply, and I leaned against the wall, shaking. How could someone who claimed to love me turn my most heartfelt moment into a joke? I walked down the street alone, clutching my purse like it was the only steady thing left in my life. I didn't take an Uber. I didn't call anyone. I just walked, tears streaming, feeling pieces of myself fall away with every step. By the time I reached home, my heels were in my hand and my feet were throbbing. Hours passed before Damon came in. He acted as if nothing had happened. He tossed his jacket aside, grabbed a soda from the fridge, and sat on the couch scrolling through his phone. So dramatic, he mumbled. It was just content. You'll get over it. I didn't answer. I couldn't. At one point, he went to shower, leaving his phone on the couch beside me. I never checked his phone before. I believed in privacy. I believed in trust, but tonight, something inside me cracked. A tiny vibration lit up the screen. A message preview popped up. I shouldn't have looked. But I did, and what I saw made my stomach twist painfully. Not one girl. Multiple girls. Flirting. Plans. Pictures. And then the message that made my blood run cold. Did she fall for your proposal prank? Tomorrow night is our turn. My fingers went numb. My breath vanished. Tomorrow night? Our turn? What was Damon planning next? And for the first time in 6 years, I felt truly, deeply afraid. I thought the proposal prank had already destroyed me. But the days that followed proved there were deeper layers of pain waiting for me. The morning after that humiliating night, my body felt hollow, like someone had scooped out my soul and left only trembling skin. Damon moved around the apartment as if nothing had happened, humming, showering, asking me why I wasn't making breakfast like usual. I didn't have the strength to answer. Every sound he made felt like a knife scraping against my bones. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, eyes swollen, lips trembling. How did I become this weak? When did I let someone reduce me to this? I needed someone. Anyone. I called Maya. She arrived in 15 minutes, hair messy, wearing pajamas, but eyes full of fire. The moment she saw me, she wrapped her arms around me so tightly I finally broke. I sobbed into her shoulder like a child. When I told her what Damon did at the restaurant, she literally stepped back, jaw clenched. FISTS tight. Humiliated you publicly for content? She shouted. Ariana, this isn't love, this is emotional abuse. I flinched at the word abuse. It felt too harsh. Too real, but then the messages I'd seen on Damon's phone flashed through my mind. Other girls, flirty texts, and that sickening line, tomorrow night is our turn. My chest tightened again. I told Maya everything. Every detail, and when I was done, she looked at me the same way someone looks at a person trapped inside a burning house. Ari, you have to leave him. I can't, I whispered. He'll explode, you know how he gets. Because this wasn't the first time Damon had crossed a line. The flashbacks came rushing in like a storm I'd been trying to hold back. Times he'd taken my debit card without asking. Times he'd screamed at me for questioning his business investments. Times he'd emotionally blackmailed me. You're all I have, Ariana. Don't fail me like everyone else. Times he'd guilt-tripped me into paying rent because his YouTube grind needed time. I didn't want to call it manipulation or control or financial abuse, but it was all of those things still. Leaving felt impossible. My brain knew I should. My heart was trapped in loops of guilt, fear, and hope. The next few days turned into a quiet torture. Damon barely spoke to me except to ask for money or to remind me that he had content deadlines. So I needed to keep the apartment clean and distractions low, but something else started catching my attention. Damon and Jace had been acting strange, stranger than usual. They stopped hanging out inside the apartment and instead met outside or in the garage. They whispered a lot. Jace always had a backpack bulky and stuffed with I didn't know what. One time I caught a glimpse of wads of cash, wrapped in elastic bands. When Damon noticed I'd seen it, he slammed the backpack shut so fast my heart jumped. It's nothing you need to worry about, he snapped. That alone was enough to trigger suspicion, but then came the late-night drives. Damon is leaving at 2 a.m. with Jace. The cryptic messages on his phone. Encrypted apps I'd never seen before. A burner phone I found hidden inside one of his sneakers. Was I imagining things? Was I overthinking because of the prank trauma? But every day the signs piled up. Something was wrong. Something was dangerous, and the prank. It felt like a curtain being lifted. Like Damon had shown me a side of himself he didn't care to hide anymore. One night, while I sat on the couch pretending to scroll through my phone, Damon came home smelling of gasoline and cold metal. Jace walked in behind him, nervous looking over his shoulder as if someone had followed them. Their whispering carried through the hallway. Jace, she's catching on. Damon, she won't do anything, she never does. Jace, but what if she talks? After the prank, she's acting different. Damon, relax, I'm handling her. My stomach twisted. Handling me? Handling me how? The next afternoon, it happened, the moment that shattered whatever denial I had left. Damon was pacing in the bedroom, phone pressed tightly to his ear. His voice was a low hiss, barely controlled. I stood near the hallway, my heart beating against my ribs as I tried to listen. She's been crying nonstop, Damon whispered. A pause. Well, I don't care if she's emotional. Ariana can't find out what we did last week. Another pause. No, she cannot. If she talks, she's a problem. My entire body went cold. A problem. My fingers trembled violently as I covered my mouth to stop a sound from escaping. What did they do last week? What could possibly be so big, so dangerous? That Damon was talking about me like I was disposable? In that moment, something inside me cracked, not from sadness. This time, but from fear. Real, bone-deep fear, and I knew. This betrayal was bigger than anything I could have imagined, and it wasn't over. I don't remember the exact moment I decided to leave Damon. I only remember the feeling, a quiet, shaking certainty that if I stayed, I would lose more than my dignity. I might lose my life. The morning sun filtered weakly through the curtains as I stood in the middle of the apartment, a suitcase open on the floor. My hands trembled, but they moved with purpose for the first time in months. When Damon finally woke up and saw me packing, his expression twisted into something I had seen before, but never this sharply. "Where the hell do you think you're going, Ariana?" "Away," I whispered. "I can't stay with you anymore." His jaw flexed. "You're being dramatic again." I zipped the suitcase. "No, I'm being alive." He grabbed my wrist tight enough to hurt. "You walk out that door and you'll regret it." Fear punched me in the chest, but I pulled my arm back. I already regret staying. For a moment, I thought he'd snap. Then he stepped back, breathing hard, eyes narrowing. "Don't forget," he hissed. "I know things about you, too." "What things? Lies? Manipulations?" I didn't care anymore. I left, with shaking legs, with a bruised heart. But I left when I reached my parents' house. I collapsed into my father's arms. He didn't ask questions. He just held me steady and solid, the way Damon never did. After hearing the basics, my dad looked at me with a seriousness that made my stomach drop. "If he threatens you again, I'll call a lawyer. This isn't just heartbreak anymore. Ari, it's dangerous, dangerous." A word I was beginning to understand in a new way. Maya came over that afternoon. Without her, I don't know if I would have had the courage to go back to Damon's place and get the rest of my things. We moved fast, grabbing clothes, notebooks, and old photos. I avoided Damon's eyes in every object, every memory. Then, Maya said something that made my skin prickle. "You, Ariana? I think you need to see this." She was standing beside the storage cabinet, the one Damon always kept locked. Except today. It wasn't. The lock was hanging loosely, as if used in a hurry. My heartbeat stuttered. "We shouldn't open anything," I whispered. Maya ignored me, which, in hindsight, was the best thing she could have done. Inside the cabinet were stacks of files, envelopes, USB drives. A metal box. With shaking fingers, I lifted the lid. What I saw made my breath stop. Fake IDs. Different names. Different faces. Some with Damon's photo. Some with Jace's. Under them were photos of people, random men and women. All unaware, all candid, all wrong. Their expressions confused, scared, frozen in moments I didn't understand. "What the hell?" Maya murmured. We dug deeper. There were scripts, actual printed scripts labeled prank idea, reaction plan, victim target. Except these weren't harmless pranks. These were setups. Manipulations. Schemes. One file was titled Extortion Strategy. Inside were detailed notes. Create fear, gives record reaction, gives threaten release, gives demand payment. Disguise. As prank for channel. Victim must appear guilty on camera. My stomach knotted so tightly I almost threw up. This wasn't a prank channel. This was a blueprint for crimes. Every video Damon had filmed suddenly made terrible sense. The insidious screaming victims. The weirdly specific reactions. The people who looked terrified, not surprised. I remembered asking Damon why their pranks seemed so intense. He laughed. "You don't get YouTube. People like chaos." "No, people like entertainment." Damon and Jace liked control. I felt cold. Down to my bones. There was a folder with last week's date. "Threesome week," Hey Damon had whispered. "Ariana can't find out what we did." Handshaking, I opened it. It was worse than I expected. A woman's picture, her name, her workplace. A list of buttons to push to make her panic. A payment target. "This is extortion," I whispered, horrified. Maya nodded, face pale. "Ariana, they're criminals." And then the truth hit me like a collapsing wall. The prank proposal wasn't just cruelty. It was part of the pattern, a test. A game, a trap. A tremor shot through my body. "We need to leave," I said, voice tiny. Now we shoved the files back as best we could and rushed out of the apartment. My hands were still shaking when I got home. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. My stomach dropped. I answered. A slow, cold voice. What you saw in those files you weren't supposed to see. My breath hitched. The voice continued, calm and terrifying. And now things are going to get much harder for you. The line went dead. I stood frozen, phone still against my ear. The world around me suddenly darker. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. This was war. I didn't sleep the night after the unknown call. Every shadow felt like it was watching me. Every sound made my heart jump, but somewhere inside all that fear, something else grew, a sharp, burning anger. I had spent 6 years drowning quietly. I wasn't going to drown anymore. The next morning I told Maya I'm confronting him today. She didn't argue. She only said, I'm coming with you, and I'm recording everything. When Damon opened the door, his face twisted into a smirk. Well, look who finally came crawling by. I'm not here for you, I said, stepping forward. My voice wasn't steady, but it was mine. I'm here for the truth. His smirk fell. What truth? I looked him dead in the eyes. The files, the fake IDs, the extortion plans, the victims. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I know everything. For a moment, Damon just stared at me, unreadable, frozen. Then slowly he laughed. Ariana, sweetheart, you always were dramatic. I'm filing a legal case against you, I said, my voice stronger this time, for threats, for manipulation, for everything you've done. His expression snapped. No charm, no smirk, just fury. You think you can ruin me? He hissed. After everything I did for you? Everything you did? I repeated, my chest tightening. I paid the bills. I covered your lies. I believed your excuses. You used me. That's when his eyes turned cold, the kind of cold I had ignored for years. You don't get it, he said quietly. Without me, you're nothing, you're nobody. Those words hit me like a punch, but for the first time in years. They didn't break me. They made me angry. I stepped closer. And without your scams, you don't exist at all. His jaw clenched so hard the muscle in his cheek twitched. Then another voice came from behind him. Jac. He walked into the doorway, arms crossed, a mocking smile stretching across his face. Well, Jace said, looks like the princess grew a spine. I felt Maya shift beside me, her phone hidden behind her scarf, camera rolling. Damon noticed Maya for the first time. Why is she here? Because I'm not scared of you anymore, I said. A sharp silence grew between us, tense enough to snap. Damon stepped forward until he was inches from me. You think the police will believe you? You think anyone will? Everything you have is nothing. I have evidence, I said, and I have power, he shot back. Something dark passed through his eyes. A warning. A promise. Then everything happened at once. He lunged. Maya screamed. I stumbled back, hitting the wall. Jace closed the distance between us like he was blocking the doorway. Damon's hand grabbed my arm. Hard, painful, the same grip he had used before, only this time it felt deadly. Stop! I cried out. He leaned close to my face. You're not going anywhere, Maya yelled. Let her go. I'm recording everything. That made Damon snap. He turned toward Maya, rage exploding across his face. You little... He reached forward, trying to snatch her phone. Maya dodged him and ran toward the hallway. Jace moved to block her, but Damon shouted, Leave her. Get Ariana. My pulse roared in my ears as Damon grabbed for me again. His fingers grazed my wrist and instinct took over. I shoved him, hard. He stumbled back, shocked, and that half second was enough. I ran down the hallway, down the stairs, out the building door. Barely breathing, barely aware of where my feet were landing. I didn't stop until I reached the parking lot, where Maya was already waiting, shaking, phone still in her hand. We jumped into her car. She locked the doors. We sat there, trembling, unable to speak. Finally, Maya whispered, Ariana, we need the police. I nodded, tears burning but not falling. Yes, we do. That night, everything exploded. We were at my parents' house when my dad called out from the living room. Ariana, you need to hear this. The local police scanner, something my dad listened to often, crackled with a dispatch. Units responding to a disturbance at 14th Street Loft Apartments. Possible suspects matching ongoing investigation. My heart pounded. 40 minutes later, Maya sent me a message. They're there. Outside Damon's building. Right now, I rushed to the door, breath caught in my throat. Then another message came. Jace. Ran. Damon didn't. He's in handcuffs. It's over. I didn't realize I was crying until my dad put his arm around me for the first time in years. I felt like I could breathe. Truly breathe. Deep, steady, free, asterisk filing. The lawsuit felt unreal. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely sign the papers. But the moment the pen left the page, a weight I had carried for 6 years lifted. My attorney looked at me with a reassuring nod. This isn't revenge, Ariana, he said. This is accountability. Maybe that was the first step of healing, understanding that speaking up wasn't cruelty. It was survival. The investigation moved fast, faster than I expected. Damon's arrest opened doors that police had been trying to break through for months. Within days, officers uncovered what Maya and I found in his cabinet and more. Much more. There were other victims. People who had been manipulated, terrified, cornered, and filmed without consent. People who had paid Damon and Jace just to get their videos deleted. People who had been humiliated publicly and emotionally broken in private. And it wasn't just pranks. There were charges of extortion, online harassment, stage break-ins, and financial fraud. The truth was brutal, sickening. But it also meant something else. I wasn't alone. Every victim who came forward validated the fear that had haunted me for years. Every statement proved Damon wasn't just a bad boyfriend. He was a danger. My lawsuit moved forward alongside the criminal case, public humiliation, emotional trauma, harassment, manipulation. What you did to me wasn't an accident. It was a calculated pattern, a routine. And for the first time, the law saw that too. When the settlement was finalist, I stared at the number written on the check. It wasn't life-changing, but it was enough for a new beginning. Enough for a home of my own, a condo, small, warm, quiet, and entirely mine. I signed the final papers with a smile I didn't recognize at first. A smile that felt like freedom. Therapy came next. In the first session, I could barely speak. I just sat there, feeling like a stranger at my own body. My therapist, Dr. Jennings, didn't push. When trauma becomes normal, she said gently, peace feels frightening. We'll go slowly. Slowly. That word became my anchor. Session by session, I peeled back the layers I'd buried under Damon's voice. You're nothing without me. You're overreacting. You owe me. No one will love you the way I do. Lies, all of them. But they had lived in my head for so long that removing them felt like removing splinters. Painful, but necessary. I learned to breathe again, to trust myself again. To recognize danger before falling into it. And then something unexpected happened. Someone new entered my life. His name was Ethan Walker. I met him at the local community center where I had started volunteering. He wasn't charming in the loud, exhausting way Damon had been. He was quiet, warm, soft-spoken. The first time we talked, it was because I dropped a box of donated books and he knelt to help me. No worries, he said with a small smile. Happens to the best of us. I felt my nerves spike, not because he made me uncomfortable, but because he didn't. Over the next few weeks, Ethan became a steady presence. Not demanding, not intrusive, just kind. He remembered the small things I said. He listened without trying to fix me. He respected every boundary I set, even the ones I didn't say out loud. One day, while walking out of the center, he said softly, "You've been through something heavy. You don't have to talk about it, but if you ever want to, I'm here." That moment broke something open inside me, not in pain, but in relief. For the first time in years, I felt alive. Not because someone wanted me, but because I wanted myself. Ethan wasn't a replacement. He was a reminder that gentleness existed. That kindness wasn't a trap. That love didn't have to feel like drowning. Slowly, carefully, I allowed myself to trust again, allowed myself to hope again, allowed myself to heal. Months later, I was in my condo sipping coffee when a news alert flashed across the TV screen. Damon Carter and Jace Miller sentenced for a violent prank that caused serious injury to local resident. My breath caught. The reporter continued. Both men have been connected to multiple extortion schemes and emotionally manipulative staged pranks. They will face several years in state prison. I muted the TV. Silence filled my living room. But not the kind that suffocates, the kind that frees. A small smile stretched across my lips as I whispered, "Karma always returns, and for the first time, I believe in it." People talk about healing like it's a soft, gentle thing. Like it comes in warm waves or quiet mornings, but mine didn't. My healing came in storms and sleepless nights. In courtroom benches and therapy chairs and shaking hands, learning to breathe again, yet somewhere inside all of that, I finally found something I had forgotten existed. Me. Now. Standing in the living room of my small condo, sunlight spilling through the windows, the air peaceful instead of tense, I can finally look back at my journey without collapsing. I think about everything I went through. The betrayal, the humiliation, the danger, the fear, the fight for justice. The long road back to myself. And for the first time, none of it hurts the way it used to. It feels distant, like a story from a life I no longer live. I used to think Damon destroyed me someday, as I believed I would never recover, never trust again, never feel safe in my own skin. I believed his words, the ones he whispered when no one else was around. "You're nothing without me. No one will love you. You need me." Those words had wrapped around my mind like chains, but now, standing here, I feel the weight of those chains gone. Really something important, something I want anyone listening to understand. Sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who destroy us. But it's our job to rebuild ourselves, piece by painful piece, until we become whole again. That rebuilding wasn't easy. I had to relearn everything: how to trust, how to breathe, how to live without fear. Therapy helped me untangle the knots Damon left behind. My family gave me the space to fall apart and stand up again. And Ethan, he became a reminder that love didn't have to hurt. But the truth is, my healing didn't happen because of someone new. It happened because I finally chose myself. For the first time in years, I chose myself. Now, when I walk into my condo, I feel peace. Real peace. Not the fragile, temporary calm I forced inside Damon's apartment. I bought this place with money earned from the lawsuit, but it means more than financial independence. It means emotional independence, a space untouched by manipulation, a space where my voice matters. I decorated every corner exactly how I wanted: soft lights, warm colors, bookshelves overflowing, a tiny balcony garden where the plants grow better than I expected. It's a home built with freedom, not fear, a home that feels like breathing. I still think about Damon sometimes, not with love or anger, but with clarity. He didn't end my story. He ended his chapter in it, and maybe that's the most powerful thing I've learned. No one gets to write my ending except me. I also learned how to recognize warning signs, the subtle ones I'd ignored before, the sudden mood shifts, the emotional manipulation disguised as love, the guilt-tripping, the jealousy, the secrets, the excuses, the disrespect. Now I don't ignore red flags. I don't shrink myself to make someone else comfortable. I don't apologize for protecting my peace. I look at myself in the mirror and see someone strong, someone wiser, someone who survived something she never talks about casually, but no longer cries over, someone who rebuilt herself from ruins. One evening, Ethan and I were watching the sunset from my balcony. He turned to me and said softly, "You're different, Ariana, in a good way. Stronger, lighter, like you finally came home to yourself." And for once, I believed him because I finally feel like I'm living, not just surviving. I feel joy in small things, warmth in simple moments, hope in places I once avoided. I used to wonder why everything happened to me, why the person I once loved became the source of my deepest pain. Now, I think I know the answer. It didn't happen to me. It happened for me. To teach me my worth, to show me my strength, to lead me toward a future I never imagined, a future where I'm not afraid, a future where love is peaceful, not painful, a future where my voice is loud, my heart is open, and my story is mine. As I close this chapter, I want to say one final thing to myself, to anyone listening, to anyone who has ever been broken by someone they trusted. You can survive what you think will destroy you. You can rise from what tried to bury you. You can become stronger than the things that hurt you, because I did. And now, As I stand on the edge of a new future, healed, whole, free, I can finally say the words that took me years to understand. I thought Damon ended my story, but he only ended his chapter. Mine had just begun.